When your son is born, you have to give him to me." My sister, Carly, said this as if she were asking for a piece of candy. She had cornered me in the kitchen, pressing her fingers into my arm as if I owed her. I stared at her. I was sure I had misheard. Just 10 minutes ago, my husband Zach and I had popped the balloon in the living room and announced to the family that we were having a boy. We were supposed to be celebrating. I tried to pull my arm away and said, "Are you crazy? Why would you say something like that to me?" She stepped closer, invading my personal space, and said, "I was made to be a mother to a boy. I've dreamed of it since I was a little girl. The mother-son bond. Little League games. All of it." I didn't understand what her childhood fantasies had to do with my unborn child until she said those words. Instead, I got stuck with a disgusting girl who ruined my life. She said this with such venom and composure, as if she were talking about a piece of furniture she regretted buying, not her 14-year-old daughter, Jordan. I shouted angrily, "That's your child, Carly." She gripped my arm tighter, her eyes widened with a frantic look. "You have a husband? You can try again. Don't you see, Enid? This is a miracle. I was meant to be that boy's mother." I forced my arm out of her grip. "I'm not giving you my son just because you hate your own child." She ground her teeth, looking genuinely confused as to why I wasn't bowing down and giving her whatever she wanted. Her voice trembled. "You don't even want to be a mother that much. I would cherish every second with that child. But you didn't even cry when you found out you were pregnant." "Get away from my wife." Zach appeared in the doorway, pale and with a hardened expression. He had heard everything. He stepped between us, shielding me. Carly didn't even blink. "Don't interfere, Zach. This is a family matter," she said in a low, dangerous voice. "You're leaving right now, and you're never speaking to her again. Do you understand?" Zach said. Carly looked at him as if he were an insect, then shifted her gaze to my stomach. A calm, confident smile spread across her face. She whispered, "Say no all you want. It doesn't change what's going to happen." She turned and walked out with a terrifying confidence. Zach took my hand. "We have to go, right now." I shook my head. That's what she wants. She wants to ruin everything and make me look crazy. If we leave now, she wins. We went back into the living room, and the atmosphere in the room was suffocating. Carly was curled up in Mom's arms on the sofa, sobbing theatrically. Dad was standing by the window. His jaw was clenched, and he avoided looking at me. In the corner, Jordan, Carly's daughter, was pressed against the bookshelf, trying to disappear. I said in a voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "She just asked me to give her my baby." Those were her exact words. She told me that when my son is born, I have to give him to her. I waited for everyone to be shocked or angry. Instead, Mom looked up. Her face was terrifyingly calm. "We know," she told us. She said softly, "Okay, and you think this is normal?" Mom said, "We think you should think about it." I let out a loud, nervous laugh because there was no way I had heard that correctly, but no one else laughed. I said, "I'm sorry. You think I should consider giving my baby to her?" Mom waved her hand as if I were overreacting and said, "We're not saying give him to her. Just let Carly be more involved. Maybe even let her take on the primary responsibility of raising him. You'd still be his mother, but Carly would be his primary guardian." I screamed, "This is madness!" Dad finally turned away from the window. His voice was calm. He said, "You're always at work. You said yourself you didn't even want to get pregnant. Carly has wanted this for 14 years. She's read all the books, taken classes. She'll be home with the baby every day while you're at the office." I felt like I was in a parallel universe. These were my parents. I'm not quitting my job just to prove I deserve my own child. Look, that's the problem. The best thing for a child is to be raised by their own real mother, not by someone who... I paused. I looked at Jordan, who was still frozen in the corner. Not by someone who calls her own daughter disgusting and says she ruined her life. The room fell into a deep silence. Jordan's head snapped up. Her eyes locked onto mine for a second, and I saw something in her face. She was surprised. It was as if she couldn't believe someone had finally said it out loud. Mom started. That's not... I cut her off. She said it to my face. Just now in the kitchen, she called Jordan a disgusting girl who ruined her life. Those were her exact words. And you're telling me to hand another child over to her. I looked at Jordan again. She was watching Carly, waiting to see how she would twist the story. Dad said quietly, "Carly, is it true?" For a moment, I saw hesitation in Dad's face. Carly saw it too. She burst into tears again. She wailed, "I was upset. You don't understand what it's been like for me. 14 years of doing this alone. 14 years of wishing things were different. I didn't mean it like that. Jordan knows I love her. Tell them, Jordan. Tell them I'm a good mother." All heads turned toward Jordan. She was 14, and suddenly, the weight of the entire room fell on her shoulders. I watched her face flicker between fear and exhaustion. Jordan said softly, "She's a good mother." Her voice was flat and rehearsed. Mom relaxed. Dad's face smoothed out. "See?" Carly wiped her tears. "Jordan understands. We have hard times, but we love each other." Something twisted in my stomach. You just forced her to lie in front of all of us. She's shaking over there in the corner, and you're pretending everything is fine. Mom said,
"Families are complicated. You'll understand when you're a mother."
"I already understand. I understand that you're watching a child be psychologically tortured in front of you, and you don't care. Because it's easier to believe Carly than to admit something is wrong." Carly snapped, "Don't talk about my daughter!" And I replied, "I heard you call her disgusting. You said she ruined your life. And now you're using her like a tool to prove you're a good person? What kind of mother does that?" Carly stood up. "A mother who has been struggling alone for 14 years, while everything was handed to you on a silver platter. A husband, a job, a baby boy. And what did I get? Nothing." Dad said, "Enough. I think it's better if you and Zach leave." I grabbed my bag. Gladly. But I'm telling you right now, I am not giving her my son. Not now. Not ever. Mom stood up. "If you walk out that door, there will be consequences. We have rights as grandparents." Zach finally spoke up. "Are you threatening us?" Dad said, "We're expressing concern." Zach stepped forward. "Your daughter just asked us to give her our baby, and she forced a child to lie? And yet you're worried about us?" No one answered. I said, "We're done here." I looked at Jordan one more time. "I'm sorry." I took Zach's hand, and we walked out the door. I thought the worst part was over. I was wrong. A few days later, I returned from a doctor's appointment and saw the front door open. I ran inside and froze. Carly was on the sofa, straddling Zach. Her hands were on Zach's chest, and her face was just inches from his. Zach was struggling, trying to throw her off. She was saying, "You can fix everything right now. Just say yes." I didn't hesitate. I grabbed a handful of her hair and pulled her back with all my strength. She was flung off Zach and hit the floor hard. She scrambled up on all fours and screamed, "Trash!" She lunged at me, but Zach was already up and pushed her back. Carly was clawing at the air. I shouted, "Get out! Get out of my house right now, or I swear to God I'll kill you!" She laughed, a sharp, psychotic sound. "And what will you tell the police? That your sister came over to talk? Who do you think they'll believe?" A hormonal pregnant woman who's cut off her family, or a poor grieving widow who just wants to be a part of her nephew's life? I lied. They'll believe the security camera. The one in the living room. It's been recording since the moment you forced your way in. Carly froze. Her face turned white as chalk. For a long moment, no one moved. Then that desperation faded and was replaced by something colder. She straightened her hair and said, "Fine. You want to play it this way? We'll play it this way. But that baby is mine, Enid. And one way or another, I'll get what's rightfully mine's." She walked toward the door, then turned back. "You can't watch them forever." After she left, Zach collapsed onto the sofa. He was shaking. He told me Carly had knocked to apologize. When Zach opened the door to tell her to leave, she had forced her way in. She had started talking about Zach's good genes and how it was a waste to only use them once. She had attacked him, trying to force him to get her pregnant so she could have her own son. We sat in silence, holding each other, when the doorbell rang again an hour later. I looked through the peephole. It was Jordan. She was standing on the porch, hugging herself and shivering so violently her teeth were chattering. A deep purple bruise was blooming on her cheek. I pulled her in immediately. After Zach brought her some water, Jordan said in a low voice, "She came home angry. She said it's my fault. She said if I were a boy, none of this would have happened." She ran her hand over her bruise. She continued with a trembling voice, "My mom kicked me in the stomach and threw me out. She said if she sees my face again, she'll make me regret it." I replied, "You stay right here with us, Jordan." That night, Jordan told us everything. She said, "You know, she only named me Jordan so she could pretend I was a boy." The nursery was ready. Blue walls, baseball posters. When I turned out to be a girl, she never let me forget it. Jordan revealed a lifetime of psychological torture. Carly would shave Jordan's head until she was 11 so she wouldn't look like a girl. She would tear up any feminine clothes Jordan tried to wear. Once, she had shredded a second-hand floral dress with scissors and forced 9-year-old Jordan to watch. Another time, in November, she had locked her out in the cold for painting her nails. Jordan's voice trembled. "There's something else. She's been planning this for months. She's set up a nursery for your son in the guest room, picked out a name, talks about him like he's her own baby, calls him her second chance." My whole body went cold. "I told Jordan she wouldn't get that baby," Jordan whispered. "She always wins, but I said she won't win this time." My son Theo was born a week later. He was perfect and healthy. For those first few days, the joy of his existence almost erased the fear. We brought him home, and Jordan, who was still living with us, was an incredible help. But we were all on edge. On the 5th night, exhaustion took over. The moment my head hit the pillow, I passed out. I was woken up by Jordan shaking me. "Enid, wake up!" I heard the door. We froze. Then we heard it, the sound of a baby crying that suddenly cut off. And then the sound of the front door closing. The nursery was empty. Zach was running. I scrambled out of bed, my body still aching from childbirth. Jordan grabbed my arm to help me. As we stumbled into the front yard, we called 911. She was clutching my son to her chest. Unaware of us, she was cooing at him. "It's okay, sweetie. Calm down. Mommy's here. We're going home." Zach reached her first and grabbed her arm. "This is your fault. If you were a boy, I wouldn't have to do this." In that split second, Carly was distracted. Zach pulled the baby from her arms, stumbled back, and shielded Theo with his body. Carly tried to push past him, screaming unintelligible things. But the sound of police sirens was already approaching. When the police cars screeched to a halt, Carly's demeanor changed instantly. She smoothed her hair, tears welled in her eyes, and she pointed a trembling finger at me. "Officer, thank God! That woman broke into my house! She's trying to steal my baby!" I screamed. "She's lying! He's 5 days old! I gave birth to him!" My pajamas were covered in milk and blood stains, and I was holding Theo tight. Carly sobbed. "She's lying. She's stalking me. The baby's name is Michael?" I said shakingly. "My son's name is Theo." The officer asked, "Do you have identification?" Zach stepped forward. "I'm his father. I have the hospital records. This woman is my sister-in-law." She forced her way in. Carly shrieked, "He's lying! He's not the father!" The other officer looked at Jordan, at the fresh red mark on her face. "What happened to you?" Jordan spoke up, her voice cutting through Carly's screams. "She hit me! She came into their house with the key she kept. She stole the baby. I saw her." Carly yelled, "She's my daughter! She's mentally ill! She makes up stories!" Jordan stood straighter than ever and said, "I'm telling the truth. For the first time in 14 years, I'm telling the truth about what you are." The officer ordered Carly, "Ma'am, step away from this family." "No, he's mine. I've waited my whole life for him." Carly attacked again, and the officers swarmed her and took her down. As they were handcuffing her, she was no longer claiming innocence. She was screaming the truth. "He's going to fix everything! It's my right. You can't take him from me." As the police car drove away, Theo was safe in my arms. Carly was charged with breaking and entering, attempted kidnapping, and assault. But it was Jordan who sealed her fate. My parents tried to defend Carly at first, saying she just needed help. But when Jordan took the witness stand, when she told the court about the head shaving, the abuse, and the years of psychological torture, my parents finally went silent. They didn't testify on Carly's behalf. They couldn't. Carly was sentenced to 20 years in prison. We have a restraining order against my parents, but we have Jordan. 6 months ago, she officially became our adopted daughter. Last week, I walked into the living room and saw Jordan holding Theo, making him laugh. She looked up. Her hair had finally grown past her shoulders. She smiled and said, "He's safe." I replied, "I know, and so are you."